tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is author Jonathan Fong and playwright John Sinner. Author, interior designer, floral designer, jack of all trades, Jonathan Fong was born in Hong Kong and raised in Northern California. He went to UCLA and he went to grad school at Boston University. Jonathan, when you got out of grad school, you had a business administration degree.
Exactly.
What were you going to do?
Well, I couldn't do anything after getting my MBA in the finance or accounting departments because I was horrible in those fields.
Oh my gosh, how did you get through 2 years of that?
It was really hard. I really needed a lot of help from my friends. But I really enjoyed marketing, and in particular marketing research.
I see.
All those numbers in marketing research I loved. So I went into marketing research at an advertising agency.
Oh, that was there's a creativeness about that too, isn't there?
Right. So I did.
So you were at Suiza?
Well, I started off at Foot, Cone and Belding.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, in research. And I did that for a few years, but I was very frustrated creatively because I saw what the people were doing in the creative department, and I wanted to do that.
I see.
So then I put a portfolio together, and I became a copywriter at Suiza.
Oh, you did? And then you went on to Daily, where our friend Cliff Einstein is.
Yes.
And were you getting to write jingles?
I wrote jingles, I wrote commercials, I wrote billboards, I wrote everything. You know, as a copywriter, you write anything that the client needs. Once I had to write a script for security guards in the casino to tell families that they couldn't have their children on the floor.
Oh, so they were so that was like part of the advertising. They would do the advertising, then you'd write the words for those people?
Yes, I had to write everything.
So you were getting into what you really wanted to do at that point.
Yeah, it was a great training because I wrote everything.
You know, when was that, in the 80s?
Late 80s and 90s, yes.
Early 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But you know that story about the woman in the 60s and 50s who was writing prize jingles and winning prizes all the time? Well, there was like this kind of dead time in between where they weren't writing and winning anything, but you were actually writing the words that probably those prize winners or those contestants were writing at the time.
They're inspirational.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So here you are, you're working at an advertising agency, your day job, and your night job is?
I was decorating.
Decorating.
Well, my boss, David Suiza, told us all a really great lesson. He said, in advertising, we're working for the clients. And if you have a creative drive that's beyond that, do it on your own time, because you need to work for our clients.
So, but you were also doing your creative drive on your own time.
Yes.
And creating things for clients to come.
Yes, exactly. So I was just decorating for fun.
But part of that training, I think part of the training that you had during the day and watching films being made and advertising being written really must have opened your ideas to do these decorating jobs.
Right. I got a design aesthetic from it. And in doing commercials, I looked at a lot of set design and what looked good on camera and what was comfortable for people. So it was great training.
Yes, camera stuff is good because it's like instant decorating that people like to do nowadays, right? Well, that was your training, but could an ordinary person actually use that kind of training, or do they have to go to a decorating school?
I think of myself as an ordinary person because I did not go to decorating school. I just looked in magazines and clipped out things that I liked. I looked at decorating shows and jotted down ideas that I liked. I go around to shopping malls and look at store displays.
But people are afraid to put those things together. You had the courage to put it together because of your eye, probably the way it was trained for what? For film.
Well, maybe. I think I was maybe just more brave than a lot of people.
Yeah.
You have to just not worry that you're going to mess up your wall or your room.
The other thing that you do is it's not a great expensive kind of thing. So maybe that's why you had the courage.
Yes, because there was not a lot of risk when it came to money, and not a lot of risk when it came to messing things up.
Yeah, because you could remess it, right?
Yeah, you could always paint over something if you don't like it.
Yeah, but we always forget that.
Oh, sure.
So then when did the transition come that you got out of the writing jingles, writing words, and just decorating all the time?
Wow, it's funny how life happens, because I never planned this to happen. But my home was discovered by the Home and Garden Television Network, HGTV.
Oh, yeah.
And from then on, once the show aired, I started getting fans, and then I started getting clients, and I started getting more television gigs from that.
Oh, that's so. Here you are.
Yeah,
here
exactly.
you are to tell us. Well, and it was also in the LA Times Magazine and Angelino and a lot of magazines. Just little ideas that you would give.
Yes.
From your design studio. So I guess you started a design studio.
Yes, and my whole approach was to give people ideas so they could do it themselves.
The thing that I thought was great was it was feng shui. Feng shui. And
Yes.
you have your own certain feng shui things that are
Yes.
called feng shui. What are they?
Yes. Well, people assume that I know feng shui because I'm Asian. But I'm not a feng shui expert. That's why I say I do feng shui, because my last name is Fong. And it's my approach to decorating. And it's to decorate like living your life like a movie. And it's to decorate like a star, S-T-A-R. That's S stands for surprise. I like to surprise people in the decorating, do things that are unexpected. The T is for transport. I believe that when you decorate a space, it should take you to a particular time or a feeling. The A is for aspire, because I want people to aspire to a higher level of decorating, because it's like dressing for success. It's decorating for success.
Exactly.
And then the R, the final letter there, is to radiate, because I believe that you should radiate your personality in your decorating and really reflect who you are.
Well, I think that answers the feng shui of it all, doesn't it? And I think with that in mind, it obviously led to this book.
Yes.
Your first book.
My first book.
And it's called?
Jonathan Fong's Walls That Wow, Creative Wall Treatments Without Fancy Schmancy Painting.
Which is what you were just telling us about.
Yes.
And you have 3 books coming up. So, or you have a 3-book contract.
Yes.
So this is the first.
That's the first
Have you ever
one.
written a book before?
I had never written a book before, but I had written a lot of commercials.
Oh, that's right.
That
We're
was good
back to
training.
words again.
Yes.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, so I was able to write under a deadline. And it helped. Because in writing commercials, I learned to write to people one-on-one. And that's how I've written this book.
I'm going to just
talking to
open,
you.
this just came to mind. And this is a green wall.
Green wall, but it's lit with candles. And it's a beautiful way to have candlelight in your room. It's a candlelit wall. And it's done really easily, because everything that I use in the book is things that are easily accessible that anybody can buy.
How do you stand the candles on the wall? How are they attached?
Well, what they are they're copper tube caps that I got at the home improvement store. And I just drilled a hole in them and then just screwed them to the wall. And the votives go right in them.
So the votives sit on top of those over there?
Yeah, they sit right inside.
And then the screen?
That's just a table runner.
Just a table runner.
Uh-huh.
So it's really not a screen. One of the things, talking about lights, one of the things that I saw that you had done was you Xeroxed, and that's back to that advertising age. You use your Xerox machine a lot, don't you? Your copy machine a lot. And you made little candles and then attached those and put the picture of a candle in a frame.
Oh, yes. That's
Did I surprise you?
Yes. That's what I call it, a votive rather than a votive.
Right, so that's what I was thinking when we just happened to open that page.
Yeah, I did that for somebody who couldn't have candles because it was in their garage, and I didn't want to create a fire hazard.
So what did you do?
So what I did was I took a photograph of a candle and then photocopied them and then put them in a clear acrylic frame and then had one of those tap lights behind it where you just press onto it and it lights from behind.
So it looked like the candle was working.
Yes.
You've come up with so many great ideas. I want you just to show some of the material. Here's the picture.
Okay, that's...
And then you show that material
Yeah,
that goes
that
with
is a
it.
wall made of cardboard. And I buy this corrugated cardboard that's in rolls. And I just crisscross them in like a pie pattern and staple gun it to the wall. And you get this gorgeous, it's a rich pattern, and when you look at it from far away, you can't tell that it's cardboard until you look and you go, wow, that's just corrugated cardboard.
Do you have to put an edging on it, or does the cardboard just reach?
It goes just right up all the way to the edge.
It does.
And it's so easy to cut because the lines are already there for you.
And it's very flexible.
Yes.
Show us some of the other material you have.
Okay. Well, on the cover of the book, that is my aluminum roof flashing wall. And I found this at the home improvement store again. I was walking the aisles. And this is something that you put on roofs to stop your roof
it's
from...
flexible, right?
Yeah, it comes in rolls.
Oh.
I put this on the wall, glue it, and just depending on whether it's horizontal or vertical, you create like this checkerboard pattern.
And does it glue easily?
Yes, because it's really lightweight.
That's great. And this?
That, stripes are so cool on a wall, and they're very slimming, of course, these vertical stripes.
And you brought these, and that's what it is,
and all it
tapes?
is tape. You don't have to paint stripes on a wall. That would be a pain. But all you do is you lined it up straight by using a laser level, and tape comes in all these different colors and widths, and you get these great stripes.
Oh,
let
me hold those too. That is fabulous. Show us the next thing on.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold these because these are like.
Oh, what a nice bracelets you have there,
Thank you.
Joan.
But all different colors, and you can use them in all different ways.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And there's no way you can mess that up.
That was really good. Yeah, because you can keep pulling it off and putting it back
Exactly.
on.
Yeah. And this is one of my favorite wall treatments. They're fabric squares. And you just put a whole grid of different fabrics on your wall. I think you have a picture of that in there.
I do. Well, I'm not finding it. But I have another surprise. This is interesting. So you put it on with tape?
Yeah, well, what it is it's foam core and then polyester batting and then fabric, and you wrap it around with duct tape, which is really easy, and then you Velcro it to the wall.
And it's really lightweight, and you know it's not going to fall off.
Yes.
And what do? Fit them up against each other?
Mm-hmm. And you can take them down because they're just put on with Velcro.
Okay, the other secret. This is funny. CDs.
Compact disc, isn't that great? It's so vibrant on the wall too.
And you just glue them onto the wall in a pattern?
I put them on with Velcro.
You can see them right here.
I put the compact disc in the clear jewel case, and that helps you line them up on the wall because then you get the straight edges.
Okay, one other thing. We have to go really, really now, but you could probably buy this too in little strips of wood.
That's balsa wood, which is used for making model airplanes, and it's the lightest, easiest wood to use. So you just cut that with a little X-Acto knife. You don't need a saw to cut this wood. You stain it, and I put that on the wall.
Oh, you stained it, so you get whatever color you want.
Whatever color, and I put that on the wall with double stick tape. But that is the easiest wood paneling in the world.
Because it's so light.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing that I saw in one of the magazines was a holder for flowers. And I don't know what was underneath it, but there were straws.
Yes. I just got a tumbler. And
just a glass?
It's just a tumbler, yeah, glass. Put a rubber band around it. And then you start putting drinking straws between the rubber band and the glass. And that keeps the straws in, and then you just hide the rubber band with a ribbon. And you get this
that was
beautiful...
so great. And my very favorite, because I love buttons. I think this is so great. You've used old vintage buttons.
Yes, I bought a bunch of buttons at the flea market, and I just attached them on the wall with poster putty. So they're not even nailed. They're there, and you can take them off if you want, but they stay there as long as you want. So it's a great way to try a wall treatment without having the risk of doing something that you don't want.
Oh, Jonathan, you've just been a wealth of information today. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And thank you for watching Jonathan Fong and all of his little tricks. We'll be right back with John Sinner. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Native Californian, playwright, director John Sinner earned a Bachelor of Arts degree at Bradford College in Massachusetts. He went on to study at the Eugene O'Neill Theatre Center in Connecticut, then to Guildhall School and Music Drama in London, and Trinity College in Dublin. You should be an old man with all that training, John.
Oh, but I'm not. But it was a good foundation for me, getting my education in such a variety of places.
What a scholar. I mean, in Europe, Trinity is very scholarly.
Yes, it is. And, you know, some of the best writers of the world are from Ireland. We look at Beckett and Wilde, and I think it was a great foundation for me studying there. I actually studied with Hugh Leonard, the playwright who wrote Da and A Life, while I was there, yes.
How did you get to Ireland, or to England first and then to Ireland?
They were actually summer programs that were sponsored by the Eugene O'Neill Theatre Center, and I was there for a semester, and then they had this program to go to England for half of the summer and then to Ireland the other half of the summer. And so I applied for it, and I got accepted to it.
So it actually was you had to apply, you had to be approved, and you had to have a certain amount of
experience and a background for it. And I had proved myself there in the semester being there at the O'Neill Center, which I don't know if you're familiar with the O'Neill Center.
Tell me about
it. It's this theater intensive, and it's one of the most wonderful experiences for young artists to go to. It's right on the ocean. It's on an estate of Eugene O'Neill's, and you, for a solid 3.5 months, you live and breathe and eat and sleep there 24/7, doing every single thing in theater. You write, you direct, you act, you do set design, you do costume design, and you're in a group of people. In my particular case, there was only 25 students. Sometimes it goes up to 40. And you immerse yourself in the world of theater and what's involved with it.
Do people with a lot of experience go there, or is this more learning?
Well, it was when I was in college. So it was like a semester abroad, except I just abroad to Connecticut. Yeah.
A semester in Connecticut.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. And then, so because of the reputation they have, when you would apply to some other, like Trinity or Dramatic Arts in London, that you could have a good background.
Yes, it has an imprimatur to it that you've been associated with it. And they get lots of, professors from Yale, professionals from New York come there, and they will teach master classes, and they teach classes. I had some of the greatest professors while I was there.
In Connecticut?
Yes, and as well as at Bradford as well, but at the O'Neill, there's people who are working professionals.
Who comes up?
Well, Dennis Scott, who was the head of the drama department at Yale at the time, and we had I'm sorry, I'm sort of spacing on some of those directors' names, but a director who was closely associated with Edward Albee, had directed a lot of Albee's work in the 60s and 70s.
And so they teach you their perspective and their outlook on what they're doing.
Yes, and it's a great training ground for young artists to get that.
Were you acting? Did you ever think of acting?
Yes, I was acting. And in fact, I've acted in my own work often in my past as well. Which again is a great thing as from a director's point of view, is to understand what's involved for actors, what they go through, what their process is, so that we have the same language and we're able to talk about the same things, you know?
Yes.
I think more directors should take acting lessons and be actors as well.
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around too. So you get a perspective of what the other does and what their job is.
Because sometimes you don't know what the director really knows.
Yes. No.
And once he's acted on stage, he knows.
Yes,
he knows how to move you around, or how you should say
and,
things.
And I've actually been directing since I was 14.
Oh.
So it's always gone hand in hand. And same with my writing. I began writing when I was 8 years old.
So you were you were writing at the very prestigious LA Theater Center for a long time.
I was the executive assistant to the artistic director there, and I got to meet this huge variety of international artists with a focus being on experimental and avant-garde theater.
Oh, so that's what interested you the most, didn't it?
It did. I knew that that was where my interests and talents primarily lied. I wasn't interested in doing traditional kitchen sink drama or drawing room comedies.
But you've done it. I mean,
I
you
have done
studied it.
But I think that if we're to understand, almost to reject something, you have to understand it and know what its basis is.
Well, that's why I always say an abstract artist really has to know how to
Yes.
paint, or he can't just get up and abstract
Absolutely.
something. In the same way in your head, right?
It's sort of like knowing you need to know theater history in order to know what's involved with it, who's come before you, what they've done, what their experiments were. And then from that, you can add to that, you can take away from that, and add it to your own voice.
But so you had all these different styles. Then when you direct your own work,
Yes.
do you direct it in a combination of those styles,
I mean,
or
I
do you
think-
have your own idea?
I do have my own ideas, but at the same time, I think we're influenced by them.
It's kind of there.
It's just there. It's just a part of you. I view it almost like it's a tapestry, and there are these threads that run through it.
What about other people's work? Do you direct other people's work?
No, I haven't.
you don't.
No,
That's
I've only been
interesting.
directing my own work, actually. Several years ago, for friends, if they were doing a project of some kind, I would direct for them. But I don't at all anymore. Because I've realized, having started my own nonprofit theater company, I wanted to put all of my energy into myself and into my own work, getting my work seen and out there.
When you were assistant director at LA Theater Center,
Yes.
what kind of duties did you have?
Well, I was in the center of the center while working with the artistic director and the producing artistic director. I learned how to do budgets. I learned how to run the theater. I learned two important things: how and how not to run a theater company. You know, what was involved with it, how you communicated. I negotiated rental agreements with other theaters. I negotiated with the playwrights and the director's contracts, so I understood the logistics of it.
Because those are the things artistic people don't know how to do.
Exactly. And so it's one thing to be, oh, I'm an artist, I'm up here, but you have to know the foundation. You have to know the business aspects of it as well.
And then what is, you're a 501c3.
Yes.
So what did that entail, and how does that happen in the theater?
Well, for me, having been doing my own work, I realized a few years ago I was beginning to hit a wall in terms of my funding. I had lots of people who were giving me money, very generous supporters, but at some point when people are giving you, X amount of dollars, they want their tax write-offs. And I really understood that, and as well, I wanted to begin opening myself up to applying for grants from foundations.
Oh, so that way you can
donations.
apply for grants.
Yes, and it opens up a huge floodgate of funding to me, as well as people who give me money now can get their tax write-off rather than just out of the generosity of their soul. They want to get their tax write-offs, and I completely understood that. But it was a bit intimidating because if the government isn't going to get a piece of your pie, they want to know every single thing about you.
But you learned that all.
I had learned about it already. And you know what? A lot of it was just like being in college, writing essays, filling out applications. I consulted a lawyer who specialized in nonprofit law, and I was accepted the first time, which is actually somewhat unusual.
Really
it usually
good.
takes 2 or 3 times before you get accepted.
So what are some of the things that you've written, that you've directed, and
Yeah.
written and directed?
My last show was a production called What Remains of a Whore, and it was pretty critically acclaimed here, and it was somewhat controversial in a lot of ways that my show currently is as well. I think that my work tends to push a lot of buttons in people, artistically, intellectually. I think that lots of people in the theater community, especially here in Los Angeles, are used to being spoon-fed what to think and how to feel. You've seen the work, and I don't do that to you. I want people to feel what they feel from it. And in fact, I never ask people after a show, did you like it or did you enjoy it? Instead, I ask them, what did it make you feel? Or how did it make you feel?
This is the teacher in you coming
Yeah,
out.
I think so a little bit. Just because I think that it's a better thing saying, wow, if it made me feel confused, or it made me feel angry, it made me feel happy, or it made me feel, based on your own experiences. Because I think every audience member who comes to the theater brings their own baggage and their own histories.
Exactly, and it takes a little while. Blood is My Legacy is the one we're talking about
Yes.
right now, playing in Hollywood. And it usually takes someone in the theater a little bit of time to acclimate themselves.
Right.
You know, before you can see what's going on the stage. So you really have to win them over. You have 10 characters.
Yes.
Did you audition them all?
Yes. I did. And in fact, I usually work with the same group of actors because I realized that we develop a shorthand. We're on the same page. And in fact, I'd written several parts for some actors I'd worked with in the past.
So is it like a theater company in a way, your company?
It is and it isn't. Actually, this particular production, those actors I'd worked with in the past were all committed to other projects. So I ended up working with all new actors, and I'm so lucky and fortunate. I have such a gifted ensemble cast of actors. Now, I'll tell you, the majority of actors, more than 50% of them, when they read the script, went running and screaming in the opposite direction. They flipped out when they read it, because I think most actors want something that's very safe. They want it to be that they can invite casting directors and they can then be cast in deodorant commercials and beer commercials and something being very commercial.
I didn't realize that was a motivation in that type of thing.
It is for the actors too, because everyone wants to be seen, and I have no arguments with that.
And we have very small. Your theater is what, 99 or 49?
It's under 99. It actually seats 64 as a theater space. And it was actually a warehouse that they just recently converted into a theater. It's the Artworks performance space.
So they have a reason for being on stage.
Yes, as well as with my actors, though, they were so committed. When they read the script, they really found it very powerful and very visceral, and really were excited to be a part of something that was unusual and off the beaten path. It's not part of the mainstream.
And it was unusual because of?
The idea that it's exploring themes that I think a lot of people aren't exploring in their work right now. It's pretty graphic with both language and images and ideas, politically and sexually.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that could be intimidating to an actor who wouldn't be open to the possibilities of it.
Or an audience.
Or an audience as well. I've had people walk out, but at the same time, I've also had people be blown away by it and so enthused by it and
you know
excited.
why there's so much, I think is the writing, the way it comes together and everything kind of, you tie a little bow on it at the end, no matter how bizarre it is.
You're right. Okay.
It's like a bizarre bow is tied on it.
Oh, well, that's good. You know, I've been called both a genius and sick. So I get both of those extremes. And actually,
so you had a genius bow and a sick bow.
And a sick bow. But even the person who said sick said, I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So I take that in, and I appreciate hearing what people's responses are to something.
Well,
and what the work is in a lot of ways.
The thing that's so interesting is to talk to you and know your background, and then to see something that's so experimental, using video, sound, lights, all kinds of costumes, all kinds of
And I view all of those components as additional characters in the play. I mean, clearly the sound design and the lighting design is an additional character in the play.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got hundreds of light cues and hundreds of sound cues.
I know.
And the video is an additional character because they each have a role to play in the production. You know, they add to it, and I view the work almost like as a collage, that it's layer upon layer upon layer. And as you've seen, there's sometimes things are happening simultaneously on the stage, 2 or 3 or 4 things happening. And I actually leave it open to the audience member. What do you want to focus on? Do you want to see what's happening in this scene, or do you want to look over here at this scene? Do you want to watch what's happening on the video? So in some ways, I actually think it's open to repeat viewing. You know, you may miss some of the first time.
Definitely.